Good morning. It's Friday, January 30th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. See, I told you, the hat works. Make silver great again. See it right there. So, looking at the overnight price action in the precious metals, they are taking a bit of a breather after yesterday's price explosion. So, a recap of yesterday's price change, we saw gold up $58, silver up $1.37, platinum up $51, palladium up $47. Copper really didn't participate. I think that copper is more waiting to see what's going to happen with the tariffs with relation to China specifically. So we saw the gold-silver ratio fall to about 87-1 here. So looking at the overnight price action in the precious and industrial metals, kind of your setup for the day. So gold up about $2, sitting at 28.47. Pretty tight range, got up to about 28.59.5, low 28.40.70. You got silver futures 32.69 up 19 cents here. 32.92 was that high of the overnight session. 32.55 was the low of the overnight session. So looking at gold, all-time highs here. The dollar declined after a report showed softer than expected U.S. economic data in the fourth quarter. So what was that? GDP came out 2.3%. Expectations were for 2.7%. It further fuels the stagflation thesis that we've been expressing on this channel here. So overnight gold, they're steady here as investors are peering into some of the safe haven assets because of the fact that Trump, at one point yesterday, he did state the tariffs pretty much as a fact at 25% tariffs on Mexico and China, and the price action across the board in all the risk assets and all the commodities really gave us a playbook of what to see and what to expect here going into next week. So it was actually, and Trump does this a lot, he'll say something first and then he'll implement it at a later date. And what it does, it gives you a small wake-up call of what we saw here in these markets. So be prudent here and trim back some of your exposure if you saw that volatile move yesterday negatively impact some of the positions you're in. So looking at the setup here for today, investors are looking at the Fed's inflation gauge. That's PCE will be coming out. That's the one that we're really looking at here. Forecast 0.2%. Previous was 0.1%. Also, you're going to have Fed FOMC member Michelle Bowman will speak. Then you're going to have personal income, personal spending, and the Chicago PMI all coming out. So some of the headlines that are grabbing my attention in those commodity markets is President Trump is set to impose 25% tariffs on $900 billion in goods from Canada and Mexico. They are the two biggest buyers of U.S. goods. The tariffs could lead to increased costs for U.S. manufacturers and higher prices for consumers. So that's why you're seeing some of the industrial metals really shoot up. A lot of people are trying to secure bullion, secure industrial metals, secure other assets ahead of these tariffs going into play. So silver, again, up 18 cents, 32.68. And this is again from yesterday. For those of you who are trading silver with us here, you should be raising stops, using prudent risk management, avoid chasing. And if you have the FOMO, you're going to buy the top. Again, have a risk management plan in place here. A lot of people were picking up week 1, week 2, end of March, all put spreads on the silver market that were heavily weighted on the futures side or on the call side. Why would they do that? Because when you get the rally of $1.30 on the silver market here, and it was the largest one-day percentage gain since January 15th, silver's been up for about 3 straight sessions here. It's up $2.11 or about 7% over the last 3 sessions. What happens? All the premium gets sucked out of the puts, and there you go. You got cheap insurance. Remember, you buy fire insurance when there's no fire in the forest. You don't go out and buy it when, the entire city of Los Angeles is on fire. They're going to kill you on the premium. So that's what I'm saying here. Just the point is, use prudent risk management. And my slogan was always, plan your trade, trade your plan. So I always write out what I'm going to do here, and I have those stops all predetermined in my head, how I'm going to implement, how I'm going to trade the markets, and I don't change the thesis. Now, silver is off about 7% from its 52-week high, which was 34.83. That was on Tuesday, October 22nd of 2024. So I'll go back and look at the charts. Now, what I don't like on some of these markets like silver is that we're seeing lower highs on the charts. We really need to break out and take out some of these recent highs in order to change my thesis in the markets. And then remember, if you'd like to open up a futures trading account with Blue Line Futures, it takes about 10 minutes to do with an online application. And then those of you that keep inquiring to me about managed accounts, those are for QEPs, which are qualified individual participants. And if you'd like to know more about all that, send an email to info@bluelinefutures.com and we'll help you get started. So turning the attention to the energy markets, energies have been a market where we've seen the run up here shortly after Trump was elected, and then we peaked around $80 on crude. We've been coming off here a little bit. We have taken some tactical short positions. You saw yesterday when he set to threaten those tariffs on Canada and Mexico. What happened was we saw crude oil futures surge about $1. I seen Goldman Sachs, they raised their upside price targets on the crude oil market here. So we're going to want to pay attention to that. If you're short that market, you'll want to tighten up those stops or consider lightening up on a lot of these different positions here because of the fact that these tariffs might send these markets in a little bit of a wild market here. So remember, Canada is the largest overseas supplier of crude oil to the U.S., and Midwest refiners are very dependent upon those crude oil inventories coming into the market. So generally what I do last day of the month on any month is I'll look at month to date or year to date performance. Coffee being your best performing commodity, platinum being your second best performing commodity year to date, up 14%. If you've been watching the Metals Minute for several months now, coming into the fall, seasonally, platinum has been one of the best performing commodities, and I've outlined many different time frames that platinum has done very well on. Most of those seasonal trades had worked out well. Now remember, with seasonals, what happens in the past doesn't mean that it's going to happen in the future. Looking at the February setup, one of the better performing commodities historically has been the copper market, where copper futures have gone up about 13 out of 15 years here. I could give you the details of that. Send an email to info@BlueLineFutures. I'll send you over the seasonal chart, the breakdown of all the last 15 years of the copper seasonal, and I'll let you know kind of how different strategies to play that rise in copper prices. Now, I'm not saying that copper prices are definitely going to rise. I would never use that term. It's seasonally they've done well, and remember that past performance not indicative of future results. Now, gold here being about your fifth, sixth best performing commodity, up about 6% year to date. Copper up about 6% as well. And then you get down into it here. Most of the other commodities are all positive year to date on these markets. Your worst performing is the VIX, and of course, cocoa futures are backing off here after such a surge and taking all the headlines here last year. So if you guys got any questions, again, reach out, 312-858-7303. I'll be on the Schwab Network later on here today, about 2:40 Central Time. I do a nice breakdown here into the close on what we're seeing in the commodity markets and the setup here going into next week. And then you guys got any questions, again, 312-858-7303. Send an email to info@BlueLineFutures. And remember, futures and option trading, it does involve risk of loss. May not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.